Hello everyone, welcome to Tech with Easy. Today's topic is Java agents plus the Apache Kafka. How we are using a Kafka with our agents. So adding a tracing, timing and audit hooks to the Kafka producers and consumer without editing a single line of application code. So let's start. So in this lecture we are going to cover same. Firstly हम quick recap करेंगे Java agents क्या हैं, then where Kafka apps needs agents and why agents not a app code, how it hooks into the Kafka, ये Kafka में कैसे hooks होते हैं, code walk through करेंगे, attach it and real tools. Okay, so let's start. So what is Java agent again? So Java agent is a special jar that JVM loads before your app's main method. Using the java.lang.instrument API, it rewrites the bytecode of the chosen class as they load. So it can add a behavior to code it never touched on disk. So load the single JVM flag, that is as agent.jar, and then runs inside the target process. Full visibility, real bytecode, needs no source access and no change to the app's own jar. This is exactly the mechanism we will point at Kafka client classes. So जावा एजेंट्स 5 स्टेप पे जेवीएम स्टार्ट हुआ डॉट जावा एजेंट फ्लैग ने रीड किया प्री मेन मेथड रन किया फर्स्ट देन बाइट कोड ट्रांसफॉर्मर रजिस्टर्स हुए एंड योर मेथड रन्स नाउ इंस्ट्रूमेंटेड ओके सो वेयर द Kafka apps runs into these problems. Kafka कहाँ रन करती है इस प्रॉब्लम्स में? So once the OR has a dozens of the services and कोई organization उनके पास बहुत सारी services and they're producing and consuming a Kafka messages, a few painful questions keep coming up and asking every team to add a tracing code by hand does not scale. ठीक है, so manually हर जगह पे कोड लिखना पॉसिबल नहीं होता है जब कभी भी हम काफका मैसेज के प्रोड्यूसिंग और कंज्यूमिंग कौन सर्विसेज को यूज कर रहे हैं. तो वेयर डिड दिस मैसेज गो, लेगेसी और थर्ड पार्टी सर्विसेज में या फिर ओ आर जी वाइड कंसिस्टेंटी है, ऑडिट और कंप्लायंस है. तो अगर ऐसे एप्लीकेशंस हैं तो हम Kafka का यूज करते हैं कि no easy way to trace a one event across the six hopes of the producers and consumer. Some producer and consumer just simply can't recompile and redeploy. A platform team wants the same metrics everywhere, not a 12 different SDK. Security needs to log every message key topic without touching business logic. So via agent, instead of editing every app, there is a zero code changes, consistent everywhere, toggle without a redeploy or sees the real call. So zero code changes is like producer and consumer is stay exactly as they are and the ZAR is untouched. Okay. Consistent everywhere is a one agent version behaves identically across every team service and turn the tracing on and off with the JVM flag and or environment variables, no app release needed. And see the real calls and hooks the actual Kafka producer dot send methods. Nothing an app wrapper could miss. How does the agent hooks into the Kafka internals? Agents कैसे hook करते हैं Kafka internals में? The agents targets two well-known classes, Kafka producers and the Kafka consumer. Using a library like a ByteBuddy, it wraps their key method and send and pull with the before and after the logic without altering the Kafka client jar on disk. So app calls producer.send record and then it's going to be the agent interceptor that starts the timer and adds the trace header and then real send runs unmodified interceptors records latency emits matrix. So producer sites intercepts a send method and stamp a trace id header start a timer before the real calls runs. Consumer side interceptor pool read the trace id header back out and compute the end-to-end latency. None of these requirement changing the producer's record building code in the application. So the agent entry point is the pre-main method runs once at the JVM startup and tells the ByteBuddy which class and method to intercept. We are having this code where we having a Kafka agent where we have and a pre-main method where arguments of strings and the instruments in strings where we are building the agent or agent builders are building, and we are transforming that method into substance installing that. So this is the agent entry point when we want to enter our agents with the Kafka, and then the interceptor timing with the trace header, how we are tracing. This is what actually runs around every send math calls before the real method and after it runs. So advice on method enter and advice on method exits. So similarly, which we used in the Java agent, same we are using in the Kafka as well. So when we enter, we have using the advice one on method and advice on method exits same. So what does just happen? Every outgoing records silently gets a trace ID headers, and the nanosecond timer starts before the Kafka real sends method. After the calls returns, latency is computed and reported. The producing application code never changes. Okay, so attaching the agents to the Kafka services is having some steps. Build the agent jar, shade a byte body inside it, and set a pre-main class Kafka agent in the manifest, and then add the JVM flag Java agents, Kafka agents are on the producer consumer startup command, or use an environment where set the Java tool option or the Kafka ops in the container or pod, no Docker file rebuild. So roll out the gradually, flip it into on the one service and one pod first. Watch metrics before going organization wide. Verify it's working. Check the startup log line and then confirm the trace ID, headers, and show up on consumed records. Who already does exactly this? OpenTelemetry Java, Datadog DDC Trace Java, Confluent Interceptors are in-house audit agents. So OpenTelemetry Javas are the auto-instrumented agents add spans around the Kafka send poll out of the box and ship the Kafka.produce, Kafka.consume spans to the same way one the like same as the Java agents flag do. And the lighter Kafka native alternative producer interceptor or consumer interceptors do. Banks often text a log every topic plus key for the compliance without touching the app code. So, who already does the exactly this? OpenTelemetry, Datadog, Confluent, and in-house. So every one of these saves a jar and a JVM plab the exact pattern you just saw to build from the scratch. End-to-end producers to the dashboard, producers app plus Java agents, sends method intercepted and the trace ID header added. And the Kafka brokers topic is the message carries the trace ID headers along with them, and the consumer app plus the Java agents poll the intercepted and the headers read the back out, and the observability backend end-to-end latency or the trace visualize. Then the agent is invisible to the both application, the producer team, and the consumer team keep shipping ordinary Kafka client code, and the tracing stories entirely owned by the platform or the agent layer. So these are the some key taken points like a Java agents is the rewrite bytecode at the class load time via Java lang instrument, zero source changes or code changes. For Kafka, it targets the Kafka producer.send or Kafka consumer.poll, adding a timing plus the trace headers. ByteBuddy is the making writing the interceptor approachable and the few annotated methods, not a raw bytecode. Roll out one Java agent flag or environment variable service by service verified through the logs and the headers. You are in a good company. Opal Telemetry and the Datadog instruments Kafka the exact the same. So thank you. The recap of the Java agent intercepts the Kafka producers.send and the Kafka consumer.poll to add a tracing and a timing with the zero code changes in your application. You can use this and this is going to be very beneficial for you. Thank you.